Hey y'all, welcome back to Bekx The White Rabbit. I'm Bekx, and today we have a very special guest here, the Pope of East Nashville. Well, 5 Points, sorry. I proclaim him East Nashville. Patrick Clifford will be joining us today, so welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
Down the rabbit, down the rabbit, down the rabbit hole. Down the rabbit, down the rabbit, down the rabbit hole.
Steven Wilson Jr. is one of my new favorite artists. Grief is only love that has no place to go. And it kind of like, it really is like you don't have, like you just want to, express the love for someone and they're not there anymore. And it's just, it feels very empty.
Wow. And I think the world of him, and he's a pal, and his wife as well. And
yeah, she's great.
And I'm really, really happy for him, what's going on in his career. But again, when you read any of the narratives about, his life and his father and their relationship, he's a wiser man than I, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All you can do in times like this is just tell people who you love, how much you love them, and try to be around them as much as you possibly can, and just be grateful and thankful for what you have in life. Because again, it's for something that, when you're a kid feels like it's going to take forever, you get to another age and then all of a sudden it's like going by like a runaway freight train.
Yeah. I turned 30 in January and every day seems to go.
Those boots are probably 30 years old.
1996 was a good year for boots.
My son is like 29. My daughter's 27. So you kids are the future.
Yeah.
Good luck. Because we've left a mess.
You guys have left such a mess.
And I apologize for the mess, but I'm not totally responsible for it.
It's a mess. It really, really is a mess. And I think my generation, I kind of got a little bit of the like latchkey kid without the internet and played outside and had some things that now I like to go touch grass and like, down to earth and not completely absorbed in the internet.
Right.
But as far as like the ability to buy a house and stuff like that, we've we've screwed our generation completely.
And I have mixed feelings about the good, bad, and indifference of the internet and the world we live in now, with the amount of noise and clutter and messaging, some which is genuine, but a lot that's just not. And it's, I don't know if people have lost a certain element of socializing. Again, I don't live my life on social media. If somebody loses a partner or a friend or a cat or a dog, I don't really post about it as much as I'll call that person, or at worst case scenario text them and at least try to be in a one-on-one conversation rather than everybody jump in here,
rush to social media to make it I've had issues with that over the years. Of not issues with it, I guess it's everyone has their own way of dealing with things, but I find the more personal route when dealing with certain situations where I find myself then jumping online to share every moment. But it sucks when I guess a lot of our jobs is sharing every moment of our lives, as far as like the artist side of things.
Sure. I mean, again, that to me, I get it, because it's the new transistor radio, but it's also like, whatever happened to it just feels like music gets lost in the conversation, and art gets lost in the conversation, or gets cluttered in the conversation. And again, the music business to me looks like a bad technology business right now, rather than, the years that I got to grow up in it, where again, all we had were LPs. There were no CDs. There weren't any cassettes. There weren't any computers. Nobody had cell phones. We all found a way to make sure that we were all in the same clubs in the same places, or go, to the right towns to go see other bands. Back in the day when it was essential to travel to see music. And I miss that madly. And it's, again, the people that make judgment calls on talent now.
Yeah. It's not
And,
really
and
talent,
not to say,
right?
and this is not across the board, because there are very talented people in music business, regardless of what type of music they're making, whether I like it or not, or if I'm a fan of it or not. And there's a lot of it that's just, because of the access to being able to get music out without, quote unquote gatekeepers like there were at one point in time. And again, they still do exist to a certain degree. It's just like it's like a giant mishmash of noise,
Yeah.
And to me, I've been really blessed to work with some great artists and make some really wonderful records that will live on well past my, time here on Earth, and those artists, more importantly than my time. But to be a part of that is an honor and a privilege. I did a thing with a friend of a guy named Scott Booker, who manages the Flaming Lips, who I think are remarkable. And he's now the dean of a music school that's up in Oklahoma City. And he had me do, a Zoom meeting with his class. And one of the questions he asked me goes, "What was the favorite record that you ever worked on?" And I said, "Well, they're all my favorites, because every one of them was an honor and a privilege to be a part of. And every one of them, there was a responsibility to be as good as we all could be, and myself to bring as much goodness and things to the party."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, all of them. But I said, if there's one, if you really want to point out one, I would say it would be the Neville Brothers' Yellow Moon record that I made with Daniel Lanois and Malcolm Byrne, who was his right-hand man, and Mark Howard, who was both of their right-hand men. And the Neville Brothers, at a time in their lives where they really had something incredible to say, not only on their, in their heart, but their mind and consciousness. And it was an amazing experience, and it's just an incredible record. And it was also one where, when I wanted to make it at A&M Records, working for Herb Alpert and Jerry Moss and David Anderley and my friend Steve Rabowski, everybody's like, we don't want to do this. And I actually threatened to not come out of a hotel room for days on end. And then I did fly to LA, and I told someone I was going to chain myself to the fence, so that when Herb Alpert drove in his Lamborghini, he'd be like, "Why is one of our employees chained to the gate?"
Protesting for good music.
Yeah, and when Jerry Moss comes driving in his limousine, "Why is Patrick chained to the gate?"
Oh my gosh.
They acquiesced and said, "You can do it. It just can't cost a lot of money." And luckily, we got Daniel Lanois, who was a genius, to work on it, and Malcolm and also Mark and the Neville Brothers they were on fire. And it's just something I'm still, to this day so proud of. And
so where do you because you've been out in the, I guess you would say, the wild, looking for talent and
right.
talent scouting and going to shows. And so how do you know that somebody has that factor? Is it what they say or how they look?
And not to interrupt, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
But I guess what I found out when I was a young man, and again, when I went to college, I wanted to get a law degree. I wanted to be a politician. I was inspired by Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. My father worked for the government, as I was saying before. So I always saw my father as an admirable human being and citizen, let alone a great dad. And he became a dear, dear friend as I became my own man. And I remember, when I was in college, it was early 70s, and, the world was on fire between Vietnam, racial injustice in America and this incredible generational gap, which was driven by music and great artists,
Mm-hmm.
and with it came fashion and all the other things that were part of that.
And a little bit of LSD.
And when I was in college, I played really bad bass and was in a band, but I started working in a record store and working at the radio station in Dayton, Ohio, and booking bands and going to see as much music as we could in Dayton, which didn't have a vibrant scene. It did have a great radio station, which had a massive reach in the Midwest. So we were having a blast, like throwing noise out there to people and turning people onto music and records. But I just found that, as my years went on at Dayton, that I felt like, I was always turning people on to great music, like in the record store in my freshman year, between freshman and sophomore year, I went to the Jersey Shore with all my friends to paint houses that were all Jersey people. And I wanted to be there because I wanted to be by the ocean and didn't want to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, mowing my parents' lawn. And the point being is, we saw Bruce Springsteen in the East Street Band countless times at the Stone Pony before they ever made their first record.
Wow.
And so when they made the Greetings to Asbury Park, and the record came out, and it was like October, November, and the CBS rep comes in, and here's what's coming out, and I'm going through it, and I see Bruce Springsteen in the East Street Band, Greetings from Asbury Park. I'm like, oh my God. And I told the guy, I said, you want to buy a lot of these records? He goes, well, I bought 2 for the store. I said, well, I want one immediately, and you're going to want one. But I ended up selling like 400 copies of the record that week, and he had to drive to Indianapolis maybe 4 or 5 different times to go get more records from the one stop.
Oh my God.
And I told him, I said, you should have just got a whole bunch in the beginning. But when people would come into the store, I would tell everybody, you want this record, and if you don't like it, bring it back, and you can have 10 other records in the record store.
Yeah.
And luckily, nobody ever brought it back.
So Bruce Springsteen has you to thank for
for a breakout in Dayton, Ohio.
Breakout.
I actually got to tell him the story one time too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What did he say to that?
He just, he's a really beautiful cat, and he's a very polite human being. And he just sort of smiled and like, hey, thanks,
He needs to be thanking you a little bit more, maybe some compensation.
My favorite Bruce Springsteen story, when my kid, Harry James Clemente Clifford, was 15, my daughter's 13, we're on the Jersey Shore, getting ready to go out to Long Island, and we're visiting our friends who lived there, and they belong to the same beach club. And so, and I again, Bruce recognizes me, and I don't, I don't speak to him on a regular basis, but he's always kind, he's very polite, and he was really cool with everybody that were friends of the people at the beach club that he knew that his friends. And I said, Bruce, can I introduce you to my son? He goes, of course. I'm like, this is Harry James Clemente Clifford. He's 15 years old. And he's like, hi, Bruce, I'm Patrick's kid, and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, tell me, Harry James, what do you listen to? He goes, I listen to everything and anything Jack White does. The Kills, the Raconteurs, Dead Weather. And then he goes, Loretta Lynn. He goes, you know Loretta Lynn? He goes, of course I do. Jack produces her. But then he looks at him and says to him, but the best band in the world is from Nashville, Tennessee. And he goes, oh, really? Who's that? He goes, Jeff the Brotherhood. And Springsteen looks at my son and goes, well, I guess I should keep my eyes open for them. And my son looks up at him and points in his eye, in his finger at him, goes, yes, you should. So I thought, like, maybe that's what I was when I was that kid, And I think I was in my neighborhood back even before that, with, let's go listen to a Led Zeppelin record or Cream or this and that and everything else.
Yeah.
But it was a great moment. And then Springsteen's like, hey, who wants to jump in the ocean? And I'm like, I do. Harry James, take some pictures of me and Springsteen.
That's awesome.
And he actually took a picture of Bruce without me in the picture that ended up like on like some news feed that, got picked up because of the internet.
Oh my gosh.
So
awesome.
Going back to that, in college especially, I just thought I had a knack for that. And I was promoting shows, going to all the different concerts. And in Dayton, again, we had to drive to Indianapolis a lot, and Columbus and Cincinnati to go see music because it wasn't that kind of volume in Dayton, Ohio.
Still isn't.
And it was always an adventure. It was like second nature. It was a calling, and also just like keep going. And then in Dayton, I got a copy of Clive Davis's first book that talked about the record business. And I got the pomp and circumstance of being backstage, or the acts on stage, or recording, but it talked about marketing and sales and promotion and teams. And he talked a lot about, the analogies were baseball analogies, because he was a big Brooklyn Dodger fan. And it really spoke to me. I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to go get a job and be an A&R guy in New York. And I graduated from Dayton, went back to Pittsburgh. And again, my family was all New Yorkers, and we'd always go there every summer. And I'd spend most summers in New York that I could. I said, Diamond Jim, I'm moving to New York. I'm going to be an A&R guy. And he understood that, because he collected jazz records and a lot of Irish folk music and bagpipe bands. But he was a big jazz man, and also, was cognizant of what was going on in the late 60s and early 70s in regards to popular music, because he had 4 kids. And I said, I'm going to get into the record business. And he looked at me and he said, what a great idea. But how are you going to do that? We're not Jewish, and we're not in the mob. I said, well, what about Uncle Cosmo? He's a longshoreman. He goes, you're right. Good luck. And I went to New York and went through a couple of years of the oddest jobs on earth, and finally got a job at this club called The Bottom Line. And I worked there for 6-7 months, saw the most amazing shows. Every night of the week, everybody would play 2 shows a night. I went there in February 1978 after having 3 jobs in New York that I didn't like, even though 2 of them were really great jobs. They just didn't work out for me. And I went and saw this guy named Jack Leitenberg, who was a dear, dear friend. And he was the manager, and a friend of mine's wife had told me about him. And I said, Jack, I want to work here at The Bottom Line. And he goes, well, when can you start? I said, I can start tonight. He said, well, you get $20 or maybe $25 a night. You get a free piece of pizza at the end of the night, and you get a free Heineken beer. I'm like, great. I said, what do you want me to do? He goes, there's a guy in the back named Warren Zevon. Go help him load his gear in. And that was just as, Lawyers, Guns, and Money came out. And
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know who Warren Zevon was until that day, and then saw the shows, and they were just remarkable. And it was that led to working at a magazine. And then from there, working for a gentleman named Nat Weiss, who was my mentor. He had a label called Emperor Records. He had a management company and also a publishing company. And he was a lawyer. And Nat was the guy that put me on my way, and it was distributed by Epic Records.
Oh, wow.
But he had just left Atlantic Records, and he was best friends with Ahmet Ertegun. And Nat was a very high-profile attorney and manager, and again, was a guy that in the 60s was a openly gay divorce attorney when you couldn't be openly gay in New York.
Which is
And he met
crazy.
Brian Epstein, and he became the American manager of the Beatles with Brian Epstein. And so that was the guy that set me off. So I got to be around great artists when I was a young man. And so I don't know how it happened. Back to the story. I don't know. I just opinion of what I like and don't like. And I just try to be polite with my opinion, even though there's times I'll be a knucklehead and say, I don't dislike that act. I hate that act. But again, I learned a long time ago, a lot of them aren't trying to impress me. No. The ones that build audiences, whether I like them or not, I have great respect for. And the things that I do like, sometimes a lot of people like it, and sometimes nobody likes it. So
The fun part about music being subjective, isn't it?
yeah.
And
It's about having an opinion, and I just tell people all the time, you can participate in the dialogue if you have an opinion, and as long as you're polite with your opinion, and you listen to other people's opinions. And most of all, you can either stick by your opinion, you can amend your opinion, or you can change your opinion. And I've done all 3 of those numerous times. With the Neville Brothers, I wasn't going to change my opinion.
You're going to chain yourself to...
But, interesting enough, this gentleman, David Anderley, when I worked at A&M, who was an amazing producer. He produced Beach Boy records and Tim Buckley records and amazing, amazing records. And it was a beautiful cat. And I used to say David was my mentor and tormentor, but he never tormented me. What he did was he would make me stop and think, because when I get excited about something, I try to do things as fast as I can because
because you're excited.
Yeah. And I really respected that because he made me stop and think about certain things. Never really changed my mind about anything I wanted to sign or tried to sign there, but he'd slow me down a bit. And
who would you say is one of the most proudest moments of signing an artist? Because you've worked with the Romantics, right?
The Romantics are the first act I ever signed, working for Nat for all of 2 months. It was February 1979. The managers of the artist I worked with for Nat that was on Nemperor was a kid named Steve Forbert, who's now a man who's my age that I'm still in touch with and texted with just the other day, who still records, still tours. We did a lot of great work together. He's the first kid. Steve Forbert is the kid who brought me to Nashville the first time because he wanted to make his second record here, to which I said, I know what you want to do. You want to make Nashville Skyline. I said, I'm in. And because Steve was managed by this woman, Linda Stein, and Danny Fields, who were both outrageous people in their own rights, and they managed 2 acts, Steve Forbert, and they managed the Ramones. And their office was on 57th Street across from Carnegie Hall. And I just happened, and Danny worked at Elektra, and he was Jack Holtzman's guy that told him about like the MC5 and the Stooges and this act and that act. And Danny came into the office one afternoon, and I just happened to be at their office. He goes, oh, I saw the most amazing bunch of boys last night. They're from Detroit, and they wear these red leather suits, and they were so wonderful. And I'm like, Danny Fields, that guy's telling me about a band? I'm like, I'm going to see this tonight. And I said, who are they? He goes, oh, they're called the Romantics, and they're playing at Harrah's, which was on the Upper West Side, and I lived on the Upper West Side at that time. And during that afternoon, without the internet or without AccuWeather, there was a freak snowstorm that shut New York down.
Oh, wow.
But I was able to walk through the snow, walking by Sire Records, where Seymour Stein was, thinking like, he'll be there if Danny has told him about this, and got to the club, and there were 11 people and 4 Romantics. And they played like the house was burning down. They played like they were going to the electric chair, like they were never going to play music again. And it blew me away. And Seymour Stein was there, the founder, and another man I revere madly. And I knew at that time, because of Nat and their relationship as, just as senior, impresarios in music in New York and culture, I see the band and I go backstage. I'm like, I'm getting to these guys before Seymour does. And I walk in, I said, I'm Patrick Clifford. I work for Nat Weiss at Nemperor Records. These guys are peeling off these red leather suits, which weren't really leather. They were Naugahyde. Yeah. So they've got red dye all over their bodies.
Oh, my God.
And they're sweating profusely. And I'm like, and I'm signing you guys to a record deal, but I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to sign you guys. And that was the first thing I ever signed. And What I Like About You was the first record I ever made.
And I mean, that song's like still in commercials today. Like it's not just, it never died.
It was a good start.
Yeah, it just kept going.
And again, to work on something like that again, in 100 years, people will be listening to that record. Yeah. And those guys are still friends of mine. I still talk to them. They still play. But I had so much fun with those guys. And we used to tour all the time with Cheap Trick, which was an honor and privilege. Wow. And we had a great time. And, again, I just thought they were the cat's meow. It's like when I signed Blues Traveler at A&M, all my friends that worked in the music business are like, are you high? I'm like, well, yes, I am. And they're like, are you stupid? I'm like, I'm not the smartest guy, but I love these guys. And I think they'll have a career for as long as they want to. Yeah. And they have. And I got to make their first 4 records, which are, to me, the first record's the greatest one of the bunch. The fourth one had the two big, hit songs with The Hook and Run Around,
Yeah.
which, I hear incessantly.
Yeah.
But that's the that's the ticket. The next big thing is a hit song.
Yeah, no.
And that's what Nat told me the first day that I went to work. He goes, here I am on the 16th floor overlooking Carnegie Hall in an empty office with a telephone. He said, let me tell you a story. Brian Epstein is interviewed at the height of, Beatlemania. And the British press are clamoring around him saying, Mr. Epstein, what's the next big thing? Next big thing. To which he said, the next big thing's a hit song. And I'm like, of course it is. So,
especially the ones that live on. Like, I think you have worked with a bunch of artists whose songs have just, like, Etta James.
The only thing I haven't done is made a bagpipe record. I made a classical record with an Irish fellow who wrote an opera about the potato famine, which I'm madly proud of.
Potatoes saved
I got
lives
to
back
work
then,
with
though.
Etta James for the last 15 years of her life. I was telling Alicia on the way over here, I met, I worked with James Ingram, Peebo Bryson, Jeffrey Osborne, and try to get the three of them to do a record. I worked with Barry White. I worked with Taj Mahal. The A&M days, we started an Americana label before there was any Americana.
Yeah.
We signed Soundgarden, Soul Asylum, Gin Blossoms. It was just like, there was such a joy in being there first, either where something was so embryonic and people would let you take a shot on it, or something like Soul Asylum where...
They're great.
Or, because they were making records in Minnesota with Twin Tone Records, and we just did a deal with them at that time. Or seeing what Soundgarden was doing on Sub Pop.
Yeah.
So it was already going, but, and it was just a joy to be in the early part of people's careers.
Well, and I think a couple of those bands kind of pushed the limit too on their messaging. Like, a lot of those people, it didn't seem like they ever sold out to where it was super commercial, or they're just doing talking points and stuff like that, where you kind of see that with a lot of people these days. But those people, like Etta James, I mean, how was that?
She was the most outrageous person I ever met in my life. And one of the most magnanimous and wonderful human beings. And that was really interesting because she was on a label called Private Music, which got absorbed into another label at RCA. And she came in for a meeting, and I knew her music, and I'd never seen her live, though, and I never met her. And there's like 40 or 50 people in Beverly Hills sitting around a giant conference table, and she came in with her husband, Artis, and she looks around the room, and she goes, this is the last time any of you motherfuckers are going to see Etta James unless you buy a ticket. And then she just stops, and everybody's just looking at it. And then she's like, if any of you people want to know what's going on with Etta James, you talk to that guy. And she points at me. And I'd never seen her before in my life. And she got up, got on her scooter, rode out with Artis.
Got on her
And
scooter.
the guy that I worked with is like, well, what the hell was that all about? I said, I have no idea. But and then a couple of days later, I got a call from her music director, my friend Josh Sklar. He said, Artis wants you to call him, and Etta wants you to come to Riverside on Friday to meet her. And I'm like, okie dokie. And it was amazing. She was something. I mean, I've met some really amazing people in all walks of life, but certainly in music, between meeting Beatles and Rolling Stones and Cat Stevens and James Taylors and Bonnie Raitt's and, on and on and on. But she was one of the most magnanimous human beings I've ever met in my life. And to this day, I still want to make a biopic of her life story. And I've been talking to someone about that.
That'd be
and
awesome.
We almost got it done years ago with a friend of mine named Yvette Taylor, who's a wonderful human being and a wonderful film person. And her team, which was called All Girl Productions, which was Bonnie Bruckheimer, but it was Bette Midler's company.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to make the movie. And I've known Mr. Bruce Willis since he was a bartender in New York. And he was very friendly with Etta, and he wanted to be involved. But he wanted to play the role of Minnesota Fats, the pool hustler, who Etta went to her grave believing that Minnesota Fats was her natural father.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, but Etta was amazing, and she loved music. She loved girls. She loved food. She loved making music. I would go to her house, and she'd be like, "Okay, we're gonna make a jazz record." And we'd like go through all these songs. Then I'm gonna make an R&B record. I'm like, go through all these songs, and most of them were songs that she would play me, and I'm like, "Etta, that song's a hit. I've never heard it. I have no idea who's singing it. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know when it was produced. I don't know how old it is." But she had such a love for great songs as a singer.
Yeah. Because she didn't write any of her songs, right?
She wrote a couple of songs. And, you know, she wrote, she believes she wrote, I'd Rather Go Blind. There's a
Great
couple
song.
others as well. But, you know, At Last she didn't write. But she always believed that was her song and her song only.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, the night when President Obama and his wife Michelle were dancing at the first inaugural ball, I just happened to put the TV on. I'm watching it, and there was Beyonce singing At Last.
Yeah.
And I called Etta. I said, "Etta, are you watching this?" And she picks up the phone, and she's like, and I hear her, going through the channels. And then I hear her yell, "What the fuck?" She goes, "That bitch is singing my song." And she always believed that nobody could sing that song other than she.
I don't think anyone could ever do it as amazing as she did,
people
and
have
with
done
the
admirable
conviction.
versions of it, but
I think I'd Rather Go Blind is also though like
there's
her
no question.
song.
Yeah, and so many of her songs, and again, working with her and this gentleman, John Snyder, who was the producer, and then her boys got involved in the production. I one of the things I wanted to do with her was try to step up the production qualities, because she deserved to have legacy recordings, but she was insistent that her sons would be involved in the production, and they weren't real producers. And I say that with the utmost respect to everybody, because she, as a mother, was thinking like, how do I set my boys on their way here?
Yeah.
And, I can't do anything but nod, the greatest respect to her as a mother and
Keeping it in the
to
family.
her children. But at one point I told her, I said, "I want to make a duets record with you." She goes, "That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard." She goes, "I don't need any of the singers. I'm the singer." I said, "But Etta, you've influenced all of these people, so many people with your career and your voice and your performances." I said, Keith Richards obviously wants to be on it. You could get Steven Tyler from Aerosmith and Willie Nelson. She goes, "Willie Nelson, I love Willie Nelson, but he can't be smoking that weed around me, And I said, I was very friendly with Lyle Lovett around that time. And I said, "Lyle Lovett would, love to sing with you." She goes, "Lyle Lovett? Who the hell is Lyle Lovett?" And she goes, "Oh, wait a second. Is that the guy with the big nose and the crazy hair married to Julia Roberts?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I love that motherfucker." And I'm sorry I'm swearing. I hope that's okay.
Oh, no, it's fine.
But, and we just went through this entire list of people that wanted to be on this record. And sadly, we only did one recording, and we did it with Dr. John, who I loved and adored, and she loved and adored. And she spent a lot of time with Dr. John throughout her career. And it was a song called Little Poodle that he wrote about a poodle that she used to take in the car when they would drive around barnstorming, playing the Chitlin circuit. And he hated the dog.
Oh.
And I have a recording of it, and nobody really has heard it. And we have a video of that day also. And after they finished, they sat in the control room at Conway Studios in Los Angeles and were talking. And they were talking in a patois as if they were from outer space. And it was just like this conversation between the two of them about how much fun they were having, how happy they were with what they just did. And just like, and they made references to as if it was like, shooting heroin. I hate to use that phrase, but it brought back great memories of their younger days. I guess so.
Hey,
but it was again,
back then,
to
maybe.
do that with her was just amazing. Making jazz records with her was amazing. Her mother sang on a record that we made, which was amazing because they had a very contentious relationship, which sort of came together by in the latter years of her mom's life. And that was an honor to be a part of that, to see them to get together and work. And
Wow.
and she was just going to have her mother sing backing vocals on a track. And then she decided, you know what? My mother's going to sing this song. And her mother sang it all by herself. And it was on the record like that.
And
it was,
how old was her mother at that time?
she must have been in her late 70s at that point.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful.
to be around things like that in people's lives, it's like, I don't know why, and again, there's plenty of people that get to do that in all walks of life.
Yeah.
But that's when it's, so valuable and so precious and so important.
Have you ever stopped for a minute and talked to God and been like, how the fuck did we get into all of these different places?
All the time.
Because your life is
Well, again,
it's a movie.
I've been very blessed to be around some wonderful people. I've been blessed to have a career in music. It's gone up, down, and sideways. There's a couple of times where it's gotten away from me, and I thought, well, that's the end of that. And then somehow it comes back, and it's just about, you're in it as long as you want to be in it, and as long as you continue to apply yourself. And again, if you're just holding on to the fringe of it, you can make your way back. When you let go of the fringe, you just drift off into space. And years and years ago, when I was at A&M, I was with a dear friend of mine and partner in A&R, Larry Hamby. We're playing golf in Colorado Springs. We're watching all these jets take off from the Air Force Academy. And we were with a gentleman named Al Bergamo, who was it was then my age now. And he said one thing to us. He said, boys, and we were about to hit golf balls. He goes, let me tell you something. I'm like, yes, sir. Remember one thing. Nobody leaves the music business. The music business leaves you. And there's been a couple of times where I thought it's left me, and I was like, and I've told Tony the Tiger and other people that, you know what, the music business is done with me. I'm cool. I got plenty of stories. I got plenty of friends.
Yeah.
I love music. I'll find something to do. I haven't been able to find the other thing to do yet, and I'm still trying to do this. And I just still want to be of purpose. I want to be effective. I want to be efficient. And I want to be around really wonderful people that make great music.
Yeah. Ain't nothing
And
wrong
I
with
still
that.
think that's, an admirable pursuit. And there's still a need for it, even though it's changed so dramatically.
Yeah, how do you feel about the fact that they're signing AI artists now and the AI kind of
I hate
side
that.
of
I
that?
hate people who get signed because they're TikTok stars.
Yeah, you have to have a certain amount of
But
followers.
again, that's not my
now.
bag, and I try to ignore it. It's like, again, I don't have a great appreciation for a lot of contemporary country radio lifestyle TikTok music. The best country music I love, just like I love the best jazz I can get my hands on, or the best R&B, or the best hip hop. But I just try to ignore it, and it's hard to ignore it in this town because it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is everywhere.
And there's and don't get me wrong, there are remarkable executives, there's remarkable producers, producer engineers, producer writers, artists that work in that field, and people like Chris Stapleton. That guy's
Yeah.
just a great artist. Casey Musgrave, great artist. Brothers Osborne, I love those guys. The Miranda Lamberts, there's plenty of them that are really significant. And it's like everything else. There's a lot of everything and maybe too much of everything. And some of it just doesn't, speak to me.
Do you think with the new rise of, I would say the popularity of Americana and folk is kind of taking over the realm of more of the classical side of country music?
I think that's fair to say. And I think there's a lot of great country music that gets made. Certainly, whatever Americana is, and again, I've seen it go through its infancy to what it is now. And I think, the genre, if it is a genre now, because even in the New York Times talking about Joe Ely's death in his obituary, they said he was like one of the founding fathers of Americana and, you know, an alt country. I like alt country better than Americana myself.
Yeah.
But again, the folk music and whatever this genre is, there's incredible artists that are in that world, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible.
And a lot of them are influenced by country and by blues and by rock and folk music and whatever they do. The ones that defy being in a category, the ones that interest me. When you can say an artist name and that resonates,
Yeah.
as opposed to, oh, where do they fit in or what do they do? That's disinterest me. Like I was telling Alicia, I got the honor to see Lucinda Williams the other night, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Is she country? Yeah. Is she blues? Yeah. Is she rock? Yeah. Is she Americana? I guess so. But she's Lucinda Williams.
Yeah.
And she was majestic.
Well,
in
it's kind
her-
of like it's being an artist and appreciating all sides of the music. I do that with my stuff where someone asks me what genre am I have no freaking clue.
Yeah.
I could be country one day or R&B
Well,
or
and
a little
again,
bit
because
of
of the
everything.
internet and the way people consume music and younger generations especially, the world's flat, you know? And
Yeah,
if people just want to hear what they love,
that's true.
you know?
And unfortunately, these kids really like that extra tune in on some of the music
Yeah.
nowadays. But yeah, no, it's even I've been to Nashville for 6 years and I've kind of watched it change a lot over the years just with the influx of people coming in from LA and
Oh, that's
This-
insane. You got hip hop artists, you know, and producer writers on what was, you know, what used to be country records, and same thing with English pop writers that have come here and producers,
Mhm.
and it's a mishmash, but it has been for a long time. In my humble opinion, I think it started happening almost 15, 20 years ago, but it's now gotten to such a fervor because one, you do have here in Nashville one of the most amazing, creative honey hives on earth.
yes.
And with that also, the proximity of people. And I always say the good news about Nashville is everybody's on top of each other. The bad news about Nashville is everybody's on top of each other.
Yes.
And you have people that come here that, you know, go through a road process of either, you know, being a songwriter at a publishing company and then trying to ascend into, you know, being an artist. I think there's less of that than ever before. And now there's real people realizing I got to go be the artist first, also become the best writer I can be, and also build an audience and find joy in whatever level of this I'm going to experience.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. I don't know how it works anymore, quite honestly. And again, there's some of it that I think is remarkable and some of it doesn't really speak to me. And I saw one of the world's greatest songwriters in town the other day, and I asked him, I said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I'm just trying to think of a word that rhymes with truck." And I'm like, it was Lee Thomas Miller. Lee Thomas Miller. Genius, you know, and a gem of a man. And I just thought, wow. You know, but those are the kind of guys, the lions and the lionesses that are here. Like when I work with young kids, I try to get them around the best people I can
Yeah.
to learn their craft. Not to become great co-writers, but if they
Yeah.
want to be artists, to be better artists by being better songwriters.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is also with the young people, you got to live a life, you know?
Yeah. And you got to have some money coming in.
Well, that helps too, but you know, everybody can go get part-time jobs
Yeah.
too.
No, one of my really good friends, he's been in the industry a long time. He's like, his biggest thing for young artists is get a part-time job. Don't make music your everything,
Right.
because you need to have that sort of attachment back to, I guess, what other people are dealing. I think it helps with writing good songs is knowing what
Yeah.
other people are dealing with and seeing other perspectives, I guess. And then
Well,
also, music is supposed to be fun. So
Well.
when it's constantly work,
Right.
I think people get a little burnt out on it.
Right.
and diving too.
It's like Cowboy Jack Clement said on his business card, we're in the fun business. If we're not having fun, we're not doing our job.
Yeah, I guess what's the point?
And that was another man that, again, what an honor and privilege to know him, to learn from him, to be a part of his career, and not a part of his career, but my career being part of his world, and just being in his studio. And I mean, the night when we brought the Yellow Moon record back from New Orleans, my friend Craig Hayes, who sadly has passed on, who was the attorney, but also a musician, and he used to tour a lot with Neil Young, he picked me up at the airport. It was like 11 o'clock at night. He said, come on, let's go to Cowboy's place. I'm like, Cowboy, it's 11 o'clock on Sunday. And we pull in, and there's three guys standing in the parking lot smoking cigarettes, and it was Bono, and it was Adam and Larry Mullins from U2.
Again, just like, what the fuck?
And I said, we just made this record with your buddy Daniel Lanois, who produced all the early U2 records with Eno. And I said, you guys want to hear the record? They're like, oh my God, what an honor it would be to hear it. And we went inside and we listened to the record from top to bottom. No one said a word. And then everybody just sat there. And then Bono's like, do you think we can listen to it again? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, let's smoke some pot and smoke some more cigarettes. And we listened to it, I think, another time. We left, the sun was up by the time we left the house. But it's those kind of moments, that are just so inspiring.
Yeah.
And again, there's so much great art that is still being made in music and the music business. It just maybe, the station of life I'm at, maybe it feels lesser than, at another point in my life.
Yeah.
But there's always something you're going to stumble into that's going to be like, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
And with the holy mackerel, it's like, I don't know what I can do to help, but I want to help. And I love to still meet young artisans, and whether they're producers. I met a guy the other day who was a mixing engineer. Not mixing, he's a mastering engineer. And the kid was magnificent. And I say kid, he was probably, your age, 30 or so. But to me, he's a kid. And it was just, it was such an honor to meet him. And, and again, 2 weeks ago, I didn't know he was on Earth. And the thing is, to be around so many people that you can hopefully still not only be a part of the process and bring something to the process, but to keep learning from the process.
Yeah. That's beautiful too, because I think that it's very enlightening and nice to hear someone who has been through all of these major different aspects of different major people's career and still want to help, the little guy who has just as much talent probably too, but actually get seen and heard. And so is that what you do nowadays, is you bring up new artists?
I still go out and see music all the time. I live over in 5 Points. So between the East Room, Skinny Dennis over there now, D's, and these are places that are booking kind of music that I like, but most of all the Basement East, which is one of my favorite places on earth. And everybody who works there, I love and adore. And it's a great room. The Brooklyn Bowl, same thing. There's so many rooms now, and that was never the case. Nashville was not a big live, and now with all the big stuff that plays between the arena and the Ascend Amphitheater, the Nissan football stadium. I mean, they're not building that football stadium for the football team.
Right.
They're building that for artists to be playing in their February, January, March, and playing in the, for the CMA festival, not to worry about thunderstorms and 99-degree weather in July or whatever time of year they do that.
Yeah, they're building it for the shows.
They are. And it's really having an impact, I've been told, by big agents on the business in Las Vegas.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's so they're coming here.
Vegas
is expensive though. I see why people don't want to go out there and do all of that.
There's no cheap dates here anymore either.
Yeah, but I swear I went to Vegas and because I grew up on Catalina Island in California, so I go back.
I want to go live there.
Have you been?
Oh yeah.
Oh good. I love when people have gone.
It's beautiful there.
So I go to California quite often. I always thought LA was so expensive, and then I went to Vegas and I went to dinner for like 2 people. It's $500, and
well, there's no cheap dates anywhere anymore. Sadly, other than Duke's.
Right, they do have Duke's. Shout out to Duke's. They have good sandwiches. So
And good people. A lot of great music people are always in there.
yes, and they're always so friendly, and they're open on Christmas.
Yep, 365.
Yes, they're always open. As the Pope of East Nashville,
Pope of 5 points.
you don't want to accept the
Pope
whole
of 5 points.
only 5 points.
Otherwise, I'd have to change the merch, but I haven't even made it yet. So, the Pope of 5 points is what I want to be, the self-anointed Pope of 5 points, and it seems to be working. So I have people come up to me and ask me to bless them that I don't even know. There's like
So as the Pope,
people beeping their horn, like, "Hey, Pope!" I'm like, "Who are you? I don't even know you." It's pretty funny.
They just bring the babies up to him.
Right.
He's blessing them
Yeah,
with the
throw
whiskey.
some holy water on them.
No, but is there, if you were, so you are the Pope, so if you can make a law for all of 5 points to kind of follow, what would that be?
Well, people being good and kind and citizenship. And again, that's why I like living. And I will say in East Nashville specifically, it's beyond, 5 points. I think there's a really great community of people there.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I want people that come there as either visitors or as vagrants, and I don't mean this to pick on vagrants, just not to litter, number one.
Yeah.
And just be good to one another, and I think, and again, that neighborhood is different, and people drive different. People blow through stop signs now, and they blow through red lights, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's the people that live there who have kids.
Yeah, no. I live off a road that is very recently gentrified, and
Right.
but it's nothing like that. It is the stop sign.
Yeah.
The fact that people run
And
stop
again, you
signs.
just have
and
people from all over
they're going
America
60
that have
miles
moved
an
here for
hour.
whatever reason, and there's more young people here than ever before. There's more opportunities for young people to have careers here that have absolutely nothing to do with the music business.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why all of these clubs are here now, because it's not because there's this new interest of the music business and music in Nashville. It's because there's an audience here that want to see shows.
And no state
And it
income
blows me
tax.
away how many of these clubs are packed every night of the week.
No, they are. It is crazy too, because even just Broadway itself, it's packed 24/7.
Oh, it's nuts.
Nashville's definitely. It's
grown.
interesting that we're stealing, because we've always had the Bachelorette. As far as the past 8 years, Bachelorettes have been coming crazy, but
Well,
for
then
them stealing Vegas as entertainment's big.
And again, if I was a girl and I was going to get married, this would be the last place I'd come for a bachelorette party.
I know.
I'd be in Jamaica or maybe Vegas or some place neat, or
I'd be at a
Paris.
spa. Like,
Yeah, but
something.
again, it's the pull of the contemporary country music that people have embraced on so many levels. Whether it's the artist, the songs, the lifestyle, and I guess looking back, I wish I owned one of those bad boot companies down there. Buy one pair, get 200 pair free.
It's
Either that or sell like the packs for blisters that the girls who buy them for the first time,
Get
their
some
feet
new
have got to be
skin on their feet.
Their dogs have got to be screaming when they leave.
Those are not boots you can ride a horse in either.
No, or walk around on Broadway all day long, and all night long.
And I have to say, it's not funny, but it is funny, is when it's freezing cold outside and they're still out there in the short little dresses with the high heel boots, and they are on these cobblestones, and it's and they're drunk, and it's a mess. And watching Broadway Uncensored, it's a Instagram page where they film all the different things on Broadway that happen that don't make it on the news.
Oh, I don't want to know about that.
It makes you never want to go down there.
I mean, and
so
again,
come to East Nashville.
there's something. Keep that stuff down there.
Yes, definitely. East is very different, and I appreciate that about it. It's very,
and it's it's changing constantly because of new restaurants, new shops. The clubs that are over there.
Yeah, Skinny Dennis is awesome.
The place is packed, almost
Mm-hmm.
every night, and they do a really good job there curating music, and
I know. Have you found any locals, like new kids that you're excited about listening to in the future?
Eddie Slide and Sweet Meg.
Okay.
And I can't remember. And Eddie's thing is it's a Western swing band.
Nice.
I can't remember what he calls it, but these kids, I saw them a week and a half ago after the Maverick show at the Ryman. We went to Roberts for a reception, and they were playing, and they blew me away. And it was all young people playing Texas swing music and playing it at a level of proficiency that was amazing.
Oh, wow.
This band, the Weird Sisters, that I work with, I love them.
I've heard
and I
of
think
them.
great things are going to happen for them in the new year. You know, Jesse Wells, I wouldn't say is a new thing, but, you know, to see what's going on with his career.
Great.
Stephen Wilson Jr., you were talking about. I don't like the guy. I love him. I love him as a person.
I was going to be
and
like,
again,
wait.
when he was in that band Audubon 20 years ago, he was out. That band was great, you know?
Yeah. Wasn't he a scientist, though? And then...
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
his
a
wife
very
is-
interesting man, but he's a great songwriter, great singer. His wife, Lee Nash, I love and adore. I'm trying to think of other new things that I've seen lately that are around town. This band Tails, my friend Taylor Cole's band, I think that they're outstanding, and there's a real future for them. And there's probably countless other ones that I don't know about because I haven't seen them at Dark Matter or the Cobra or this one or at the end. Because
I didn't know you went out like that, Patrick. I had no idea you were...
Yeah, because I love the music, and some days I have to stop. Like tonight, at the Riverside Revival is Rodney Crowell, who's one of the greatest singer-songwriters of all times.
Oh, wow.
And Sean Kemp, who is equally one of the greatest singer-songwriters of all times. Then you have Dan Huff, who's one of the world's greatest producers and guitar players, who is in a band called Giant that we worked with at A&M years ago. He's doing a show tonight, which will be amazing, and he's going to have world-class musicians, incredible. I just don't know if I can make it. And that girl, Sweet Meg, that I mentioned, she's having a Christmas party tonight at Skinny Dennis, and being that we have a personal thing to attend to tomorrow that is of massive importance, I might just have to rest tonight, you know?
You got a bit... I mean, it's a Wednesday night.
Yeah. Well,
Good for you.
I mean, I hate going out on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
There's more stuff on Sunday nights than ever before.
Yeah.
You know?
There really is. Yeah.
I hate going out on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
I want to just stay home, but...
It seems like every night of the week there's at least 4 to 10 good shows going on in the town.
It's insane.
It really is.
And it's like, you know, a time now for this town where bands, you know, want to come here because they know that there's an audience. They know there's good rooms, and they can do things. There's things to entertain them as well. You know, they can be here to see bands as well. And the other thing is the amount of people that travel from all over the country and the world to see shows in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And whether that's, you know, Luke Bryan or Zach Bryan or Taylor Swift or, you know, Beyonce, people come from everywhere to Nashville to make a trip to see a show like that. And then again, where are they at? They're on Lower Broadway, most of them after that, you know?
Right. Do you think we'll start doing like big residencies? Like where like...
I think it's inevitable.
Right? I could see that. Because now we're even doing like dinner shows and
Yeah.
stuff like
I
that.
think it's inevitable that there's going to be, and especially in the new football field, that there'll be those kind of,
That'd be
like where
awesome.
Luke Bryan will, or Luke Combs or Zach Bryan will play multiple nights.
Yeah.
And maybe just say, hey, I'm going to stay here for the month of January, you know?
Right? They should do that.
I'm sure they want
Maybe
to. I'm
we
sure the
should
people who
invest
own it
in
want to
that.
do it. And I'm sure Live Nation and AEG want to do it. And I'm sure all the Lyft drivers want it to happen. And the
Right.
Uber drivers.
And the girls in boots.
And the girls and the boot stores want it. You know, again, I just encourage people that love this to do it. And there's a lot of days I get out of bed, especially, again, at this station of life, where I'm like, maybe I'm expired. Maybe, you know, but then there's other days I wake up inspired. And once you start moving about the cabin and whatever cabin you're in, and if you get a little momentum, you know, that just keeps pushing you out there. But in the same breath, if this was to end today, I would just want to try to find something else to do to be of purpose. And music would always be something I would apply myself to helping people, because I don't know how to not do that.
Yeah.
If I can get paid for it, that would be better. Because again, I just want to keep the bank away from my house, travel with Tony the Tiger, and give money to my kids or somebody else's kids or perfect strangers.
Right. Keep the house and Tony safe.
She likes where we live.
You have a beautiful house, and it's a very great location.
And again, I don't know how she does this Thanksgiving dinner every year, because it's days, if not weeks, of preparation.
I bet.
And I'm like, honey, we can't do this anymore. She goes, it's my favorite thing in the world to do. It brings me happiness. It brings me joy. I'm like, just makes me tired. But I get incredible joy, seeing how much she enjoys it.
Yeah.
And the joy she gets from everybody that participates in it.
Yeah.
So
that's sweet.
So again, it's an honor and privilege to be part of that.
And she's a wonderful human being.
Oh, she's the greatest.
Amazing.
How she puts up with my lazy meathead head,
Does she go to all the shows with you, or
no.
does she?
Oh, you kidding me? No.
She's
I
over
really
it.
wanted to go see Lucinda Williams the other night, and she didn't go. But when she does go, she has a great time. Like, we saw our friends Thievery Corporation the other night. Mm-hmm. She had a great time. We were blessed to go to the Paul McCartney show.
Oh, wow.
And our friends from Montauk got us tickets because our friend Irish Johnny is Paul McCartney's landscaper out in Amagansett.
So rich.
And we're at the show, and she's jumping around like a teenager, and I'm sitting there crying my eyes out because I'm watching my entire life flash in front of my eyes. And she's like, are you not having fun? Are you not enjoying this? I said, Tony, you just stay in your Liverpool teenage, moment. I'm having an amazing time and an amazing emotion. It's like no other thing I ever experienced in my life. And
oh, wow.
And
That's
I felt
beautiful.
the very same the other night, seeing the Mavericks and all the guest artists, and not having the heart and soul of Raul Malo in the room was one of the most, I don't even know how to describe it. It was surreal. I don't want to say it was painful. It was painful to know the pain that this family had to endure to his passing and will have to endure forever. But it was like no other musical experience I ever went to in my life.
Wow.
And everybody that sang did incredible work, and it was so admirable. And the band played like they were going to the electric chair. It was remarkable. I mean, I walked in, the first thing I did was go down right in front of Eddie Perez and just started blowing him kisses and tell him how much I love him. And it was an honor and a privilege to be there. It was like no other experience I've ever had in my life. And it was after that where I was just like sort of walking around in a daze that we went to Roberts. And the next thing, I meet Eddie Slide and Meg Sweet, and they're singing. I'm at the very back of the room. And the next thing, I'm at the front of the stage, and I'm getting their phone numbers while they're performing. Like, I want to be your friends. I want to talk to you. And since then, I've had a couple of really nice visits with them.
That's
We had a good visit with the Weird Sisters last night. Very excited about what's coming up for them this coming year. They're going to play East Side Bowl on New Year's Eve, and that's going to be a barrel of monkeys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just a squirrel out there looking for a nut, And when you were talking about before, I've always described myself as a 49er miner. I go panning for gold. Mm-hmm. And if I get something shiny, I try to make sure it's not fool's gold.
Right.
And sometimes I stay in the same place. Sometimes I go other places. Again, back in the golden years of A&M and other labels where you did not have the accessibility of seeing a band anywhere in the world on your phone or on your computer, the traveling part of going to that was just such an amazing experience. So much music, it's amazing.
Well, Patrick, thank you for being here and
My
sharing.
delight. Thank you.
Your experiences are freaking awesome. I mean, you've had such a crazy life.
I've been blessed, and
Every
I'm
day
lucky.
it seems like you keep getting new
Well,
crazy
again, I
experiences.
hope it continues, and I want to keep doing it because it keeps me young. It keeps me happy. I do think it's important. I think, being responsible to artists and being part of that process is an honor and a privilege, but it also, if you bring value to it, is a real asset. And again, I'm just like everybody else, just trying to figure out what's next and
just a squirrel looking
if
for
I
a
still
nut.
got it in me or not. And I think I do, but Tony thinks I do. But I there's more days I feel like I could be very happy renting one jet ski and having a blender to make margaritas and being at the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, I mean,
Not the Gulf of America.
We might all join you down there because
if there was an ocean, a Great Lake, or the Gulf of Mexico in Nashville, this would be the greatest place on earth.
1,000%, 1,000%.
And how they decided to put it here is beyond me.
Yeah, I
other
agree.
than there was a radio tower and it broadcast country music to America.
Yeah, 100%. I've always said there needs to be an ocean or a mountain.
I've lived most of my life in New York and Los Angeles, in California. And I tell people all the time, I'm from New York. My cell phone rings in LA. My heart is in Austin, Texas. And I'm stuck in Nashville with the Memphis Blues again.
It's perfect. That's a country song, actually.
It is. And you can't write it because I'm living it and writing it.
I'm living it. Well, Fergal, thank you for being here.
You.
And if you guys ever want to find Patrick, you can probably see him where he is poping the 5 Points of East Nashville, maybe around Duke's or something like that.
Duke's or Bongo Java East.
He will be around.
Or waltzing around aimlessly on Woodland Street.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That's a safe street.
And I loiter a lot in 5 Point Pizza also because they're all music people in there.
And they have great pizza.
And Fanny's also.
Fanny's is great. So you'll find him loitering around 5 Points, but he is the Pope, so please do not call the police.
Right.
Well, thank you. Thank y'all for watching Bekx The White Rabbit. If you want to like, subscribe, and follow, we would be very grateful for that. And stay tuned for our next episode coming up soon. Thanks.
Trying to